Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, a game where they actually decided it was good enough that they should put a title screen on it. They're like, people might want to see that. Maybe, I don't know. So, you probably know the drill by now, because this is, well, okay, to be fair, I was going to say this is like the fifth, Call of Duty game in the Black Ops line, which I guess is kind of true. It's the fifth Call of Duty game to have Black Ops in the sub-series title there, but technically, World at War is kind of part of it as well. It just doesn't have Black Ops in the title. So, I just thought I'd address that here since I'm aware of that. And also, this, similarly, not only does this not have a number in the title, that one doesn't have Black Ops in the title. Whatever. So basically, I'm just kind of addressing it now since it's a good time to do so. Where it's like, well, this doesn't say 5 on it. I know. They went back to 6 after it. I know. It's weird, but we'll get there eventually, one day. That's in the past. We'll go back there later. But for now, we're doing this one. This is the fifth one. So, in case you haven't already checked these out, you can probably want to start with Black Ops, my review for that. If you're unfamiliar with the games leading up to this, you can start there, work your way up. But if you're going to stay here for this review, I'm going to assume you're kind of up to speed on the first 4, at least. There's still a lot to talk about, though, so, bear with me. I'm going to do my best to get all the info in here. I do have a written review also. I'll link that in the description if you want to see a little more detail on some of these things, if in case I miss stuff here or there. But also, I'm going to probably only record footage from the campaign, just because, well, I think for this game, everything is kind of slow enough where, basically, if I try to jump to each section individually, I don't know if you necessarily get a great taste for any of them, so it's just easier. So the footage you're seeing is probably just going to all be from the campaign, and shouldn't go too far to get any crazy spoilers for what's going on there. But that's also a good place to start, so let's do that. So the campaign for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. The story-wise here, like, you're playing as this agent, some secret agent doing, secret agent Cold War, wartime stuff. It takes place during, the Cold War. The idea is you're like this secret agent that's been brought in to help with some of these different missions. Your main target right now is a character called Perseus, which I think actually is based on a real... Well, I guess there's kind of debate on, is this a real person? Was Perseus an actual, spy? Or were they just something made up by KGB intelligence or something? The idea is that this is someone who was in on the Manhattan Project and could, basically somehow got their hands on an American nuke. And so you're trying to essentially get it back from them, so they don't use that and cause problems for the world, as it were. That's mainly your target, trying to find evidence. In these, going through these levels, there are, it's still general first-person shooter stuff, but there's little pieces of evidence. Some of it you will pretty much just have to run into. Some of it is, more optional stuff that you can get to unlock for other missions. Those are just little pieces that'll be here and there and give you a bit more of the story as you progress. Like I said, a lot of this is still kind of standard stuff for playing through these levels. First-person fare. The core mechanics are pretty similar to what you're used to, despite this being a new engine, which really was introduced with the previous game in a Modern Warfare reboot in 2019. This one, there's still some different stuff here compared to Black Ops 4. That's why I'm bringing it up, because we're going through the line, right? So, one thing is with you can reload while you're sprinting now. You can also keep yourself aimed down the sights while you're reloading now as well. But probably a bigger thing that changes here is that there's stealth mechanics in some of these levels where you're able to kind of sneak around and avoid being alerting people and them knowing where you are. If you're using silent weapons or going up and doing really close quarters stealth kills. But they have this little like indicators to see how close they are to being like, noticing you or whatever if you're like in the open or making noise or something. You also have to drag and hide bodies in other places because they're if they find the bodies, then they're going to be more on alert for things. So you have these sections. Some levels, this is an optional thing. Some levels, obviously, you're still just going out guns blazing in these battles. But there are some levels where you have to do stealth because if you don't, you either fail or the consequences are so bad for getting caught that you basically will fail anyways because you can't really beat that. So the stealth thing is, a new mechanic they've used in a number of levels here, in a number of sections. That's a big one. They also have a couple of side missions here, because you have this like level select thing between places, like in your safe house area, you have this evidence board. And so there are a couple of side missions that you use the evidence that you found to try and unlock clues and things to do them. If you don't have all of the evidence to try and solve these extra puzzles around these two side missions, then if you try to play them without doing that, you will not get the desired ending from that. But also, similarly, there are like multiple times throughout here where you're given like choices for like options of what you're doing or dialogue options, and depending on the choices you make throughout the game, these will affect different events during the game and also the ending. And in fact, actually, when you start the game in the very beginning, you get to pick only your name, stuff, and nationality, and things like this. You also get to pick these two like basically like personality traits that are like two different perks you can have that change some of your stats. There are some missions where you are playing, as like Alex Mason and I forget his first name, Woods, from the other Black Ops games. They make an appearance in a few of these missions. So when you're playing as them, you don't really have your perks, but when you're playing as the character you made, Bell is their code name there, is that you get to use those perks and whatever that you selected for them at the very beginning. And I will also say, because again, I don't want spoilers, but there is a point where there's sort of like a mindfucky twist that happens partway into the game. And in classic Black Ops fashion, that's also a thing that happens, but I can't spoil it. But just know that you're going through and you're through with this kind of setting and stuff, with some stealth mechanics, and your ultimate goal is to try and stop Perseus. That's the campaign. And then for multiplayer, when we get to there, multiplayer is a little more bare bones, a little more back to basics on things. There are no more specialists or specialist abilities, things like that. You got your standard, you got weapons and attachments, perks. You have like one wild card, score streaks. Pretty basic stuff there. They did bring back the gunsmith idea here, where essentially you can have multiple attachments on your main weapon. You can have up to 5 attachments normally, and they all will alter a little bit of their the stats. Some of them are just boosts. Some of them are trade off with pros and cons, but they can give you lots of like more granular take on the way you want to customize how your weapon will work, to give more depth to each weapon and with the different attachments you pick rather than like a single attachment per thing or something. They got more for this route again. And as far as like the modes, there's a lot of like stuff you come to expect. They have a little like selection thing where you can actually go into like all the core modes, and you can select or deselect any of the main core modes you're used to playing in most Call of Duty games. You can turn those on or off. So then when you're doing a quick play thing, it'll try to find a match in any of the types that you have selected in that thing. In case there's like some modes like you just don't want to play, and a number of modes you do want to play all the time. It's like, well, as long as you get one of these, you can do that. They have some new modes here, or at least ones that I haven't seen before too. Let's see if I can remember all these. There's a lot. There's stuff like there's a gunfight tournament where essentially the idea is that like it's a bunch of like 2v2 matches in a tournament bracket, and then for the rounds that you're playing multiple rounds against people, and you all get the same loadout. It's a randomized loadout of weapons, and so it's just a bunch of 2v2 matches with these different loadouts, and whoever wins the set number of rounds goes ahead, and then they keep doing that with the tournament with prizes for winning the tournaments. There's a 3v3 knife fight, which is two teams of 3 fighting multiple rounds using different melee weapons. There's like a mosh pit of just like a bunch of modes where you can only use sniper rifles. There's a collection of modes where you have 6v6 matches. There's a collection of them with 12v12 matches. I'm trying to think. There's some other ones here as well. They're a little different. There's a VIP escort one where basically every round one team has a VIP escort. They're trying to get to the exit. There's two different like areas where they can like be extracted, and they're trying to protect them. You can actually get downed and revive people in this mode, but they can also be killed when they're on the ground as well. The other team is trying to defend and like basically eliminate the VIP. So the team, if the one team the attacking team eliminates the VIP, or whatever, the one team eliminates the VIP, they win. If the other team eliminates everyone else or gets their VIP out of there alive, they win. And you just do that for multiple rounds, switching sides, basically. And there's also a cranked variant of certain modes you can play, where essentially like you start off with this little like timer and you're like cranked, where you have like extra like stats, kind of boosted abilities, but then you have to keep getting points to doing objectives to keep that timer up. And every time, for all the time you're not doing that, it starts counting down. If it goes down to 0, then you just die. So it's kind of meant to keep you focused and doing the things in the mode. There's also a mode called Double Agent, which is kind of complex, where there's like essentially multiple people. They kind of encourage you to have voice or text chat for this. And there's some basically these double agents trying to secretly plant these bombs and avoid being detected while they're doing so. There's people trying to question them and figure out who's doing these things, and there's people who can eliminate others. But if you kill an innocent person who's not the double agent, you'll also end up dying because of that. So it's kind of a game of that kind of thing, of like trying to spy stuff, trying to be secretive and figure out who's who, and deducting things. And there's probably a couple other modes I'm forgetting at the moment. There was a lot of modes to select from in different like little places, but those are pretty much the ones that were unique and I remember off the top of my head for that. If I remember anything else, like I say, it's in the written one. But there's a good amount of modes for you to look at and pick from here, for sure, which is good. And then there's also hardcore versions of things too, so you can check out like the hardcore list of modes as well if you'd rather play in hardcore. I will say there's also, I did check out the offline play a little bit, and in offline play, you have all of the weapons unlocked. There are some weapons that you can only get through completing certain challenges. Those are not available in single player. But other than that, you have all the attachments and everything unlocked for the weapons. All the perks and score streaks and all these things are all unlocked right at the beginning for this. So you can create classes and things, but there's no, basically, like, there's no progression. You can play with bots on some modes, but not all modes. But yeah, this is more for, like, split-screen local play. Sometimes with bots, sometimes not. And like I said, there's no progression to be had here. However, the progression for the regular multiplayer stuff actually will carry over between that and the zombies mode. And the zombies mode here, it's a little different. So in this one for the zombies mode, some of the basic stuff here to keep in mind is that regardless of the zombies mode you're playing, like there's some basics going on of like you can pick whatever weapon you want as your starting weapon. You only get one weapon, but you can pick from whatever weapons that you have and whatever attachments and things you have unlocked for it as you're going through. You unlock attachments, by getting kills, but you unlock more weapons by leveling up and that kind of thing. But yes, like progression is between the two. You also in these loadouts can pick a field upgrade, which is kind of like a superpower thing you get for like some kind of a boost, whether it's like buffing your team or like an offensive thing. You can use that. You charge that up by getting enough kills. So that's kind of just a reusable thing. That's once you use it, you have to charge it back up again. And those are the primary parts of your loadout, is your weapon and your field upgrade. Then you go into these matches with what you selected. And in the matches, enemies will drop things like pieces of armor. They may drop ammo, and they may drop random pieces of equipment. Like your primary and secondary, like your tactical and your lethal pieces of things you can pick up from them to use. You can swap them or use different ones, leave them on the ground. Sometimes enemies will drop guns as well, or other nice bonuses. So there's a variety of things that enemies drop, and also ammo. That's how you're getting your ammo and your armor and your stuff, how you're salvaging things. They also drop a thing called salvage, which you can use at crafting tables, a new thing that are in here, where you go to crafting table and use salvage to upgrade things like you can upgrade your armor. There's crafting tables and also like these like, I think they're like little mobile armory things or something. And basically you can do stuff like, upgrade your armor. You can get different types of bullets. You can upgrade the rarity of your gun to make it stronger. You can also build little pieces of equipment, and these some of the score streaks are available here for you to create. So you can use salvage on these things at these locations. Those two different like location things, those points of interest. There's still the pack-a-punch machine, where you can pack-a-punch your gun actually multiple times to make it even more powerful, becoming more expensive as you're, because there's still the points system of killing stuff, and finding certain items can give you points as well as you're going around. So you're getting points. That's another use for those. There's also a vending machine where you can buy all the different Perca-Colas in there as well. You just select them from that machine. So those are kind of like the basic things, where some of it's pretty similar, but some of it's a little different from other Zombies modes in that sense. And essentially here there are also three main types of matches that you're playing, which are, one of them is round-based zombies, where you can go in either endless or like a limited amount of rounds to go in. Essentially, these are the maps that are more like classic maps, where you have like a kind of a fixed like set of like events going on. There are some Easter eggs happening as well, and you're opening doors and killing enemies and whatnot, and you're unlocking stuff there and trying to find all the different parts of the level and getting awards for getting further in the level and surviving more rounds the longer you go. If you're in endless, you'll be given periodic opportunities to basically leave the level and exit and get more rewards, or just go until you die and get whatever rewards you end up with at the end. But obviously, the further you go, the better your rewards will be either way. So you have to kind of make that decision of the trade-off there. But it's still basically a similar thing. You have access to those different like points of interest and whatever. There's also a more bare bones mode called it's Onslaught, where there's basically this orb in the map. It emits this area of protection around you. If you go outside that area, you'll start taking damage. So you want to stay inside the safe area. And then within this area, zombies will start appearing around there, either inside of or slightly outside of that area and walking in. And you have to defeat the zombies coming at you. And in this mode, the main difference is that as you're destroying zombies, you're charging up this meter. Once the meter is full, the orb will surge and kill everything else that's remaining on the map, and then move to the next location. Every 3 rounds, you'll fight an elite encounter who will drop better loot if you beat them. So the idea here is just surviving as long as you can with that. When you beat the elites, they will sometimes drop things like another weapon, or basically the rarer things, like something like another weapon, or maybe a perk. Basically, this is the way you will get perks and things, is if you defeat these elites, because in this mode, there's no machines or things to build stuff, so you have to get everything you get from the drops of the enemies. And then the orb is kind of slowly moves around different parts of the level. You basically see how far you can get before you lose. And then the other mode is Outbreak, where here it's kind of like the more open world thing. It kind of combines like the open world stuff of like Blackout from Black Ops 4 with zombies. And you start in these really big maps that you can run around and explore with zombies in different places. There are some events within there. There's lots of like little chests for you to find and loot to find a bunch of like weapons and salvage and other stuff to build yourself up. There are main objectives that you're supposed to be doing, but also secondary trial objective things you can do. Or I guess they're like to get extra points. You can do those and extra rewards and whatnot. Those are around these maps as well. And essentially, what eventually you'll want to do is do the main objectives for that area. And once you complete those objectives, you'll go to the next area big open area, and it'll be more difficult. And it's basically each successive area gets more and more difficult. But the further you go, the better your rewards are that you're finding and getting along the way. And this does still have all those little points of interest. The different things that you're finding are going to be, I think, sometimes in different locations as well. Or things like the Pack-a-Punch machine, the Perca-Cola machine, etc. These are in different places here. If you start a main objective and you fail, actually this will end your run. So basically, if you play this mode, it's not just about if everyone goes down, because actually if someone goes down and actually dies, there's a respawn timer. But if everyone dies, it's still a game over. But you can also fail it by just failing to do the required objective for that map once you started it as well. And there are a few different variants of each of these modes. You can also, the main rewards you're looking for by doing these things are these crystals. There's different like rarities of these crystals, and you use these to upgrade things. Like there are these weapon blueprints you can get as well, and you use these crystals to like basically upgrade the abilities of your different weapon classes in this mode. You can also use them to upgrade your field upgrade as well, and give you extra stuff for all of your perks. So there's like a lot of progression going on for doing each of these rounds. The more you play, the more powerful you'll become, and the easier it'll be to get further later on. There's also, like I said, there's some variants of these modes as well, with different like twists on the basic thing of round-based or outbreak or onslaught. For offline play, you don't have access to the special weapons, and you don't have access to any of the upgrades or crystals or anything like that. But you can play on any of the different like variations of modes whenever you want in offline play. There are no bots in offline play in Zombies either, and again, because there's no real progression, it's not shared between either multiplayer or this, because again, everything's kind of like there that you would get, so you can't actually get the upgrades for that. So just beware of that if you're doing Zombies offline as well. Yeah. And all that being said then, like I said, that's a lot of stuff. But I think, generally speaking, this is a very good package. So like the campaign is maybe a bit short, but I think what's there is very good. I mean, core mechanics are good. There's no surprise. Guns are very satisfying to use. It's very very fluid moving. I think they've Call of Duty usually nails the gameplay in that sense. They usually nail the core mechanics, and this one is no exception. It's very good. Even if the new engine doesn't necessarily do it any amazing favors, that's cool. I think they've done a neat thing there. I like being able to reload while walking. I like being able to reload while aiming in, although sometimes I have to use I sometimes have to like let go. I'm like, I want to see my person actually finish reloading, because sometimes I'm trying to shoot again and I can't shoot because the animation of me reloading is still happening, but I can't see it because I'm looking down the sights. But it's still a neat feature to have, so you don't have to like lose sight of something, especially for like sniping. You can keep your eyes on something. There's actually a new thing too where you can in single player, at least when you're sniping and you hold the button to like hold your breath and like focus, it actually makes everything slow-mo. It doesn't do that in multiplayer, but it does do that in single player. And I think the stealth stuff does add a little bit of a layer to this. I didn't really care much for hiding bodies, but like having to go around and be more silent to kill enemies, and like I like the option, especially when I could go in if I fucked it up or didn't feel like sneaking anymore. I could just shoot enemies and go loud. I like having the ability to do either one. That choice was really fun for me. It just adds a little more depth to what you're doing there. I like being able to pick my perks at the beginning there for my character and having those fun little things. Like that's a neat like modifier to have here. Your main character would be like, what do I value in doing these things? It just gives you a bit of an edge. That's cool. I like that. It's interesting, the way they're playing some of the stuff out is interesting. The mindfucky bit, like, there's two particularly good sections, I think, too. The mindfucky bit later on has lots of cool, like, stuff happening there, where they're sort of, like, integrating, like, weird stuff into, like, these sections that, like, shouldn't be there. Like, it's very trippy. It's very cool. I like that part. And there's also a part where you don't have any weapon at all. You're just a dude in, like, KGB headquarters, and you're going around trying to, like, you have a task to do there, and you basically have to do it by like sneaking into rooms and doing stuff without being seen and being caught by suspicion. If you get caught, you'll die. they'll like, oh, that's it. So that was an interesting like mix of like kind of like puzzly, like what do I do, where do I go, how do I go about this, and also like trying to be very sneaky and quick about it, picking locks and going indoors and like hiding around and stuff. It's a very interesting section as well. So they have a neat little bit of variety here. with what you're doing. Um, and I also even like the puzzle things for the 2 side missions they give you. That was a neat thing. Um, Being able to like try to solve those puzzles was fun, and also I really like the like there's parts where you have those different choices you have to make. Like you make them basically in real time. They're like timed, so like the things will pop up and it's like what do you say or what do you do, and you have to pick one, and then like while the timer's like ticking down. So you don't have all the time in the world to think about it. You have to like make these decisions, and they'll will impact stuff later. But it's cool because it's not like here's your decision. What do you do? And like you sit here and you can think about it as long as you want. You have to actually make a decision in real time, which I think makes it a bit more organic. It never felt like I never really felt like it was like clunky or awkward the way they presented it. So I props for that. It never felt like they weren't trying too hard to be like, look at all the agency you have with all these different dialogue options. It's just like, all right, here's the thing where this is going to matter. What are you going to do? You have the choice here, and it's like you have to make that choice right away. They didn't like try to like, boast about it. They were tactful with it. I liked that. Um, Multiplayer, I like that it's more bare bones. Um, I like that it's like they don't have the specialist thing anymore, the pick 10 thing anymore. I like that they've ditched that. And I also like the way it's kind of the way it flows as well, because none of the perks or anything are like that amazing, or like the score streaks. So I like that. Essentially, you don't. How do I put this? So I like that it's like you're not focusing so much on like here's my waiting for my weird ability to be active to like be overpowered, or I'm not sitting here spending half the match like trying to fend off other like score streaks of like air support shit or whatever. There is a lot more just on the ground fighting gun to gun, and I think that's like where this game really shines as well. So it's really good that they've done that. There's a good selection of modes here as well. I like that there's like the core selection playlist thing or whatever. You can like where you can modify your queue. I really like that. I think that's really fun. Just a really handy feature to have. Some really cool modes here to check out as well. It's like it's very rich with different modes to play. I think multiplayer is pretty good, and like there's a progression system. Also, the progression is very good in this game. Being able to like, you feel like you're getting a lot of unlocks. I mean, like especially with the gunsmith stuff, you're like getting unlocked almost every match. You're probably going to get at least one unlock for your weapon if you're playing, and being able to select all these different pieces to like really change like your play style, especially with the fact that again you're doing a lot more gun to gun combat. You're not doing a bunch of weird stuff with like I'm gonna wait for my ability, or I'm gonna wait for my score streak, and then that's gonna be my thing. Spending more time actually using your weapon to your advantage to get things done means that changing the stats on it and how it behaves is a lot more meaningful in this, and I like that. So then like also getting these different attachments and playing around with them and what you want to do it also makes more of a difference in these minute changes. The more granular differences actually will come into play and actually kind of matter. So I think this feels really interesting. And just generally the progression. I love how the progression goes into like zombies as well, because it makes these modes feel connected, and just the idea of like in generally both of these, the progression systems are like it feels like you're just moving forward in both things. It's cool that you can use a thing in one mode and then have it benefit in the other. Some stuff might be better for online or like multiplayer, while others might be better for zombies, and being able to upgrade everything and then like kind of work them into each other is an interesting thing to have you see more of the weapons and more of the strategies and things to use. So it just gives you more of an appreciation of what you're doing, and also makes it more addictive because you keep getting stuff and unlocking more stuff and upgrading stuff. So it always feels like there's a little bit more for you to do. Like, oh, I should come back to that so I could do more stuff. I think that's very good. And I enjoyed that a lot. Zombies, I particularly liked zombies mode in this game. I really, really liked the zombies. It was very fun. I like the outbreak stuff. I like being able to run around and loot stuff and have a bit more of an open experience there. The open world kind of like stuff they had from Blackout that I didn't like that much because you died within seconds of finding somebody in Blackout. Here in Zombies, having this outbreak thing, you're not going to die in like a couple of seconds from finding even like an elite zombie. You're usually going to have a bit of a chance to fight them. And so I like that there's like different events and things to find, and running around looting. It's fun for the exploring stuff. So looting and building up and doing all this feels like it's working towards something while you're doing it. That's very cool, and you're getting experience for your guns and stuff and getting kills, whatever. So it's a lot of keeping you going, keeping you invested in playing and also replaying, and cool things of like win conditions of like I can leave and get stuff. That's always really good to have in these. I also like the way these different modes kind of work too. Like it's a lot to kind of handle at first, like figuring out where do I go to like build stuff with salvage and like getting my perks. All my perks are here, and then pack a bunch of things how this works and managing those menus on the fly can be a bit much. But I also really like once you get it down, it's very satisfying. It's very cool, and I also think it's cool how like the different three different modes. Kind of have different appeal as well within the zombie stuff, where it's like the classic zombie stuff. There's like round-based maps. I think those are for like more classic zombies players who want to have a bit of that like structure, a bit of like lore and story happening, opening doors and turning on power and doing this stuff. I think that's really cool for that. And again, still having win conditions, ways for you can actually beat those instead of just playing until you lose. But then there's also, if you want a more bare bones learn how to play this experience without like all the different like little tables and machines or whatever to like look at all the options and stuff, you're like, this is a lot. What do I? This is kind of a little overwhelming right away. Playing Onslaught is really good because in your that limited area, you just start with your weapon, and you have to get those perks and other stuff from beating those elites. That's a much more basic one. You just kind of do that until you lose. I think that's much more like, yeah, it's very focused. Like, don't worry about windows and stuff. None of these care about like barricades anymore. They've thrown that out of the series for a long time. Really, they don't seem to matter at all. But like, yeah, it's very much more like focused and close quarters kind of stuff, like simplified, and it's a way to really learn how to play it. I think that's cool. And then Outbreak, again, is the mode where you're going to spend a lot of time in. You're going to have some of the open world elements. There's a lot more stuff to mess around with and do and see, and I think that's a really long haul fun mode, and that's a good one to play with friends and stuff. That's all like very cool. I think that definitely like Zombies like really hit it out of the park here. All these things I think are very, very good. But as far as downsides is that, to mention quick, is that also, yeah, I feel like a lot of these are relying heavily on the online element. Offline, you're not going to have that much for Zombies mode, right? Because you're not getting the progression stuff and all that, so you're kind of just playing for funsies, and that's going to limit it. While it's nice to play with, in whatever version of whatever modes you want, whatever loadouts you want, you have limitations on how you upgrade those things, and so there's not progression. That's going to definitely change the way you view that experience and what it means. And I think that's where that mode's going to take a big hit once you get there. For sure. Also, like I say, a lot of people don't really like the Zombies mode. I wondered why. I looked online, and what I could tell was people are saying, yeah, it doesn't have like dedicated characters or to continue like the storylines, the insane story shit that goes on with zombies. They don't have that here. That's a shame, I guess. But I guess I don't care about that part. So people are saying it's too easy, especially once you get all these upgrades and things beefed up. It becomes a lot easier than the other games, which I don't really mind necessarily because there's win conditions, and it's also easier for people to jump in and learn how to play it and do stuff. So once you figure out the systems, it's not hard, and it gives you some ability to like have time to figure that out. So I think that ultimately it's good. But for hardcore Zombies fans, it's not, and they're probably not going to like it that much. So you do get all these maps and everything right away. You got them with updates. You didn't have to go buy DLC packs for them, so that's also very cool. You get a good amount of content without having to buy extra shit, for once. Multiplayer, similar boat, where without the online, that's also kind of lackluster. You're not going to have the progression to pull you through there. That's going to be for playing with friends, playing against bots for some things, but for some reason you can't play with bots in all modes, and that's a big shame. Even online right now, there's only a few modes. There are a few modes I couldn't play at all. Thankfully, I couldn't even play the double agent mode because it sounded like a convoluted mess that's only fun with a group of people you actually know, and I don't really understand how that would work or how that would be fun. It didn't sound good, but I can't say for sure because I couldn't even play it. So we are going to see that as time goes on, probably. People are going to be playing this less and less, your selection is going to be more limited, and as that happens, again, the quality of this game overall, I think, is going to go down where it sits. Even the campaign could use a little work, I think. Well, I think what's here is good. Like I say, it's a bit short. When I was playing, I thought there was going to be like, there's going to be like one or two more evidence boards, probably. No, it's all not just that one evidence board of stuff, and the last mission is the last mission, and that's it. So it ends kind of abruptly, which is nice. It doesn't drag on, and it uses its time fairly wisely, although there are a lot of like cutscenes and scripted sections. That's a little annoying. There are also a couple of parts, like I don't like when you have to use stealth, and like if you don't, you don't necessarily outright fail, but like you basically do because you'll just get killed. there's no way you can really like realistically win that. That's a little annoying, but I also don't like the missions where I don't play as my character because then I don't have my perks anymore. So then I don't like, oh yeah, that's right, I can't do the same kind of stuff that I usually do as me because I'm not me. I'm not as buff as I am. Yeah. I think the campaign maybe could have used a bit more meat on the bone, but what we get there is good, so I don't want to complain too hard about that. It's just, it's going to lean heavily on that once online support becomes less and less, and there's not as much that you can really do with that. Alright, so overall speaking here, that's like I said, it's a lot of stuff to mention. Surprisingly, there's a lot of stuff in this package for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. There's a lot here, but it doesn't quite feel like it. And like I say, it's kind of on borrowed time. I think that right now, this is a very solid game that, if anything, this feels like it's unfortunately kind of like masked in the shadow. It's living in the shadow of the Modern Warfare reboot from a year prior. That's where you first saw the new engine and some of these new ideas. And I've heard that stuff here is like about the same or not quite as good, which if anything makes me more excited to play that game finally. Potentially after I finish the Black Ops line, I'll maybe start on the rebooted Modern Warfare trilogy. We'll see how I feel. That's like definitely more exciting hearing that. And I think that the package here is still good while online survives. And I think we still have a few years of it being thriving. Modes are going to start getting thinner and thinner. And as that happens, basically, as long as the servers are up, you still have like some ability to have fun. I think with the zombie stuff, even alone or with friends online. But I think if it's totally offline, you are going to be hurting for this because multiplayer is just not going to be that great with bots. That's not a thing you're going to come back to probably as much. It's an option, a fun little thing to do. But if you have other games and other campaigns and things, I don't know. And again, the campaign here is a bit short, so while it's not bad, I don't know if it'll be like a heavy enough thing to push forward. I didn't mention this. Actually, I forgot to mention this. I'm just thinking of it now. Hopefully I remember to put it back in my written review as well. The music is very good in this game. Probably because I really like the stupid, it's not stupid. I like that but I'm saying it's stupid that it's good because they throw synths in there. But they have the cool 80s synths in there and they sound awesome. So I really I like that addition to the soundtrack. It was really good. But that's obviously very much a personal taste thing. I don't know if everyone's going to feel that way. That's pretty cool. So I also, a special note for the soundtrack as well. I know that's why people play Call of Duty is for the soundtracks. But yes, that and the sound design is still good. As always, there's some stuff that are kind of just givens in these games. And also, I think what this thing really showed me too, because even though there's a lot of people are kind of whatever on this, and especially just a lot of people are kind of meh on Call of Duty after the 360 era anyway. What I want to really point out here is that I think this game is a lot of these games are really good. I've been very surprised how good these games are. This game is not a bad game at all. This is still a very good game, even if it's not amazing and necessarily in terms of it's not going to maybe crack your top list of your favorite Call of Duty games. But that's just saying that the Call of Duty series is some really good games in it. And that's been really cool to see that I haven't seen any of these be really all that bad. Other than Black Ops 4 has been the worst one so far, and it's pretty impressive what they've been able to churn out here, especially with the punishing yearly release schedules of these. So kudos on that. And hey, if you're still here, another thing in case you're curious here, this main menu apparently has had a lot of changes throughout the years of it existing. And so there's a section over here. This is Call of Duty Play Now. What the fuck is this? If I click on this and it's it's please wait, we're going to launch Call of Duty that I don't have. And this brings me to this shit. And basically, there's a launcher for Call of Duty stuff here. And as you can see, you can use it to launch Black Ops 6, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, and Warzone. And I think Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone both featured on that little panel in the front screen before, but now it just says this thing, and they're pushing this app. And, look at this. The size of this thing is 146 gigs for a fucking launcher, and it doesn't even support Cold War, apparently. According to this, it doesn't say Cold War is part of it. So why the fuck do I need a launcher to go into these games and not even have why advertise it on this game anyways. Even if it did, like, even if I did want this, if I can't launch this game out of it, why do this? What are you doing? So that's dumb. I don't know why they decided that was a good idea. I'll probably save my limited gigabytes of space and just manually go into my games list and find the Call of Duty games I want to play. I don't think it's going to be that hard for me to do because not even all of them are on there. If they patch it and add all of it on there and make it so all the games can be launched from there, I can at least see it. But this, like 4 games here, you can just find those. You can just, they're all be in the section that says Call of Duty. You can find them. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Ass.
Take it slow. Move up.
I just wanted to add this other quick clip at the end here, I guess as a post whatever thing, because I forgot to mention it in the video. A lot of things to mention, a lot of things on my mind. And basically, the quick add in here is to say that there's also a section in the game, and this is pretty specific for me. But there's one of these side missions. They have you doing these little secret whatever decoding things for the side mission things. One of them you have to look at a newspaper, and there are these letters that are like highlighted in red, and you're supposed to use those to unscramble a word with those letters. And I had the problem of my color blindness made it so I couldn't fucking see which letters were highlighted in red. They were all like not, they were like not perfectly printed letters because they're like newspaper, slightly faded ink kind of looking. So there was a lot of like gray and red, and for some reason my kind of color blindness, I couldn't tell on my screen or on the phone screen or anything, and I couldn't just look up the answer for it because it's generated differently every time for each player. So while I understood the idea of what I was supposed to do with it, I couldn't, I just couldn't see it. So I had to like take a picture of it, and I had to like send it to my friends and be like, hey, can you see this? And they had to point it out for me. Once they did, even with them like circled, I couldn't tell. They had to like alter the colors and stuff on it. And I would probably let this go as just being a me issue, but they also have colorblind options in the menu. And for some reason, those don't do anything either. Because those are only for the UI elements. So I couldn't actually change things so I'd be able to see those colors there. So that was a problem. And I figured I would just tack it on at the very end and be like, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm sure I ruined my nice weird editing, that end bit that I did. But whatever, it was important to mention. Not so important that I needed to re-record this or put it where it belongs, but important enough where I throw it at the end where people might look at it maybe if they bothered to wait that long. So. Just be aware, if you have certain kinds of color blindness, that might be difficult to do those puzzle things for the side mission you don't ultimately really need to do, but it's a thing, and I wanted to do it, and that made it almost impossible, if not for other people, to be those eyes for me. So, yeah, guys, being some kind of colorblind when you're gaming is an issue. It's still an issue, and I feel like that's a slight bit of oversight. Either remedy that fully or don't half-ass it with that menu thing. That's all. Because like I said, I would have let it go if there wasn't even an option for this. But the fact that that's there and it doesn't help me where I need it is a problem. Right. Goodbye again, though. I'll be gone now when I find my button on the back of the camera. There it is.